Russia has produced many intense fighters, but none come close to the sheer madness of one man. He's a beast in the ring and a lunatic outside it, leaving chaos wherever he goes. Even legends like Andrei Arlovsky and Alexander Emelianenko couldn't take him past the first round. This insane fighter's name is Vyacheslav Datsik. Known as Red Tarzan, he grew up in some of the harshest parts of Russia, swapping professional fights for armed robberies and prison sentences. In today's video, we'll introduce you to the scariest and most unpredictable fighter Russia has ever seen. Plus, we'll show you his wildest and most shocking fights. This is Cage Combat. Let's dive right in. Born in 1980, Vyacheslav Datsik didn't have a typical childhood. By the time he was a teenager, he already had a reputation for starting fights and causing chaos, racking up about 16 concussions along the way. His violent behavior got him on the police's radar early in life. Then at 18, he discovered something life-changing: combat sports. The idea of being able to legally hurt people fascinated him, and it didn't take long for him to make a name for himself as a brute with no technique, but immense natural strength. That's when the nickname Red Tarzan was born. At 19, Datsik made his professional debut, stepping into the ring against future UFC heavyweight champion Andrei Arlovsky, aka the Pitbull. Compared to Datsik, Arlovsky was polished and disciplined, having spent years mastering martial arts. From the opening bell, it was clear that raw power alone wouldn't be enough. Arlovsky had the upper hand, treating Datsik like a human punching bag for almost the entire first round. But Datsik wasn't done yet. Out of nowhere, he mustered all his strength, throwing a single haymaker that sent Arlovsky crashing to the canvas asleep before he hit the floor. One monstrous punch, and the wild Russian had flipped the fight in an instant. After shocking the MMA world with his first fight, Datsik didn't follow the usual fighter's path. Instead of focusing on his career, he started committing armed robberies in his spare time. Unsurprisingly, it didn't take long for authorities to catch up with him. Declared mentally unstable, he was admitted to a psychiatric institution. But like any action movie villain, he somehow managed to escape. He fled to Norway, where he was eventually found not so insane and deported back to Russia. Over the next several years, Datsik spent a total of 9 years in prison, finally getting out in 2019. After his release, Datsik wasted no time returning to the ring. Although the years in prison had changed his physique, they couldn't rob him of his incredible power. Despite his reputation and lack of technique, he managed to land fights and continued knocking out his opponents with his trademark brute force. Wild, explosive, and completely unpredictable, Red Tarzan was back. But no matter how much time passed, his insane, unfiltered personality remained on full display. One of Datsik's most infamous fights came against Alexander Emelianenko, the younger brother of Russian MMA legend Fedor Emelianenko. Alexander was a seasoned fighter with victories over legends like Mirko Cro Cop and Fabricio Werdum. On paper, there was no way Datsik could compete. The fight seemed like a mismatch from the start until the bell rang. In just 10 seconds, Datsik landed a vicious punch that sent the Russian legend into retirement. No one saw it coming, but Datsik had proven once again that there's no predicting the madness.
Ну что, мы дождались. Ребята наконец-то выяснят отношения. И мы сейчас станем свидетелями того, как они наконец-таки разберутся. И самое главное, что они разберутся согласно правилам.
Да, тут же пошел в размен Датсик. Понятное дело, именно этого от него ожидал.
Вот это поворот! Доволен собой после такого перформанса.
одержал Вячеслав Рыжий Тарзан Datsik.
As Datsik continued his chaotic career, he faced Tyson Dijon, not exactly the boxing legend Mike Tyson, but a much smaller and lighter fighter. Despite the size difference, Dijon came out swinging, relying on speed and precision, but Datsik's tank-like physique absorbed every punch without issue. With a terrifying burst of power, he caught Dijon with a flurry of punches that sent him flying out of the ring and straight into the highlight reel.
И тяжелый левый боковой. Кричать сейчас Датсику, чтобы он сконцентрировался. Снова пытается закончить в характерный.
Next up was Antonio Bigfoot Silva, a Brazilian former UFC fighter with wins over some of the sport's biggest names, including Fedor Emelianenko and Alistair Overeem. But all of Silva's accolades meant nothing when he stepped into the cage with Datsik. The Russian brute turned the fight into a violent clinic, unleashing one brutal shot after another. Even Silva's massive frame couldn't protect him from the relentless onslaught. By the time the fight was over, it was clear that Bigfoot was no match for the unrelenting force of Red Tarzan.
И вот что сейчас будет делать, потому что ты показал.
Придется ходить за соперником.
Активно начал второй раунд Вячеслав Датсик. Зажал.
Да, много попаданий, и много промахов. Я думаю, сейчас, если он перетерпит эту серию...
Все, он уже опустил руки. Вот опустил руки, пора уже заканчивать.
Since skilled strikers couldn't survive against Datsik, the promoters decided to solve madness with madness, pitting him against Geronimo dos Santos, a massive wild fighter who was just as unpredictable. At the pre-fight press conference, dos Santos tried to intimidate Datsik, but clearly underestimated just how insane his opponent was. Once the fight started, it was clear who the king of the jungle really was. Datsik's animalistic style completely overwhelmed dos Santos, leaving him broken and unwilling to continue after a devastating series of strikes.
Это был бросок. Сможет здесь. Уже Слава как раз свой вот этот правый театр. И Мондрагон сейчас пятится назад, потому что вот очень коварно у него, да, корявые удары. Падает Мондрагон после левого бокового.
Этим и занимается Вячеслав Датсик. Все, остановка, это победа Вячеслава Датсика в первом раунде.
Vyacheslav Datsik is one of the craziest fighters to ever set foot in a ring, a man who brought raw power and chaos to every fight, destroying opponents like a wild animal. Despite his chaotic career, Datsik has a professional record of 14 wins and 16 losses. His most recent fight was a boxing match against Jason Gavern, where he lost by decision. Could he have been one of MMA's greatest? If it weren't for his insane behavior, maybe. But one thing's for certain, there'll never be another fighter like the Mad Russian. Leave a comment. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to check out our other videos on the channel and make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and share on social media. It really helps YouTube understand that our content is relevant. I'm Julio, and this was another episode of Cage Combat. Big hug and see you next time.